What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? This is Micah Dobbins, host of the Micah Dobbins Show, coming at you live from Misfits of Media. And right now, I have with me Jameed and Ricardo from We That Sports Atlanta, and we're going to be going ahead and chopping it up and talking about their show and all that they have to offer. Make sure you're checking us out. All right, guys, so we're back, and we're really excited about today's show. We have some awesome guests here, and we representing that ATL. So if you're from Atlanta, you need to hit like right now. You need to be sharing, and you need to subscribe to We That Sports ATL, as well as the Micah Dobbins Show. We representing for the fam. What's up to you guys? Jameed and Ricardo, how y'all doing today?
Very good, young man. How yourself?
All right, hanging in here.
What's up?
Chilling, man. I'm excited about having y'all on. I love what you guys are doing, and I've been enjoying just some of the commentary and the banter as far as the sports and athletics, and I think you guys are going to be going really far in this thing. I'm hoping that the audience that's watching right now is going to be feeling the energy and loving the knowledge that you guys are spreading as it pertains to the sports world, because it's really needed right now from an ATL perspective at that.
Come on, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Man, you just stole our whole premise. You just do the show. Thank you, Micah. Much appreciated. And you just hit it on the head. That means a lot coming from a big dog like you. Because we watch your show all the time. We are subscribed, and we talk about your show. And even though we have different content, it's great to see a brother from the ATL representing. And that's all we're trying to do. Right? You look at the sports show, you look at the national media, you look whether it's social media, online, traditional print, and we're like, where are we? Where are we? We're in the conference finals. Where are we? We went to the Super Bowl. Where are we? And that's why it hurt that we couldn't go back to the Super Bowl, that we couldn't win another World Series since '95, because we feel like, and it's probably personal, that they like, we don't have to talk about Atlanta.
Right.
And with that, the problem was, even when they did talk about us, it was such lazy narratives. Matt Ryan is this. Ronald Cunha is that. They didn't know what they were talking about, because it seemed like they didn't really care. They just throw out something, and it just didn't have a perspective of what honest Atlanta sports fans think about when they're watching our guys. And so we was like, you know what, man, let's stop waiting for the other shows to figure it out, and let's do it ourselves. And so that's what we did.
Hey, that's what's up. And kudos to y'all for doing it, because it's definitely working, and we're going to see the fruit of the labor as you guys continue on in it. So I'm digging it. Now, let me ask you, what was the decision? Like, how did you come up with the name We That Sports ATL? I mean, I know it sounds like it should be obvious, but it's like We That Sports ATL actually has a nice ring to it. I loved it from the time I first heard it. So how'd you guys come up with that?
Oh, man, that's a special story. And if you're from the ATL, you get it. And if you're not, because when we say from the ATL perspective, we realize that only 1 in 4 of the 6 million people that live in Atlanta are from Atlanta.
Wow.
Myself included. So we don't just, if you don't like Atlanta, don't worry about it. That's why we said We That. So the story of We That is, I got to give some regrettable credit to the Saints. You go to a Saints game and they like, who that? And typically it's easy for us to go down to their stadium, and it's easy for them to come up to our stadium. And they've had the upper hand on us. They had the better quarterback. They got the Super Bowl in this time period. And so one year in particular, they came up here because, I got season tickets. Me and my dad got season tickets. God rest his soul. And when I came back from the military, and so that was just cool. And so we're there at the Dome, and it's a good mix of Saints fans and Falcons fans. But when they start winning, and at the end of the game, they start saying, who that? And we didn't know what to say. We just standing there like robots. You just standing there like you're in a lineup, like, what do you say? And so then young Jeezy, if you're an ATLian or if you're not an ATLian, take it from there, Ricardo. What did Young Jeezy do?
Well, he made no. See, I I didn't know this. I wanted you to tell the story, but the gist of it was they made us. I guess it was a song or just a phrase on the radio.
He made a song called "We That."
We That. Yeah. Oh yeah. We That.
And so it was a track with Jazzy with Shorty Red, and so it was like who that, we that, we that. And so when he said "We That," the song released. The Saints came in. We kicked their butts.
Yep.
And so because throughout the game, it wasn't a close game.
Right.
And so the Hoodats had shut up early. And so did the people who drive the Atlanta engine, us. We started saying, we that. And that became a response, a call and response, similar to some other calls and responses in Atlanta that are specific to Atlanta. And we that mean if you're a Falcons fan, a Braves fan, or Atlanta Disneyland, when you hear we that, our boy made it straight out of Mactown, Macon, / Atlanta. It's getting closer and closer every day. It used to be like, here's Atlanta, here's Macon now. And so that was that became a phrase. Yeah. And so we just co-opted it. It wasn't trademarked. And I'm sure we hope one day to get Jeezy on there and thank him for giving us something to say to those nasty Saints.
All right. That's what's up. That's an awesome story. It's just like Andre 3000 said at that Source Awards. The South got something to say. And we're not done yet.
Something to say.
We're not done yet. It is crazy.
That's like our unofficial hashtag, Micah, because a lot of, the webcast podcast universe is centered around obvious LA, the Northeast, Chicago has some. And it's like when you start getting down our way, it's actually podcasts that don't really talk to people like us. It's like either stuff that's not in our interest or it's so hyper focused. Like we're gonna talk about our third hours of what's gonna happen with the Falcons next for the 264th day in a row. We love the Falcons, but we want to talk about how the Falcons have to do with the Giants. So that means we need to know about the Giants. We need to know about the Raiders. We need to know about the Browns. Right. And so what happens is, because I had a history of maybe placing a wager or two. I could always beat people because they just know their own home team.
Right.
And we're not playing ourselves 16 or this year 17 times. So we gotta, know about sports, the other teams. And so because so many people from Atlanta are from other places, so it's not just we only go talk about the Falcons, Braves, and Hawks. We got to talk about everything that has to do with sports from an Atlanta point of view.
Oh, yeah. And that's awesome because it's necessary. And I mean, it's crazy because as you were just mentioning, some of the people and that helped you come up with the, We That Sports ATL. I'm thinking about it like, man, you brought up, of course, Jeezy, like Shouty Red. I remember back in the day off in Decatur, you know what I mean? Back when, I think it was Avondale Heights when he was over there by Columbia Drive, seeing these people in Atlanta now on a rise and now getting in the forefront. It is like we've been horribly misrepresented in a lot of areas. So I think it's awesome that you guys are bringing that. And then you're also bringing the knowledge of, hey, we're not just about the ATL teams. We know about all these different teams. Like we are on point when it comes. You want to talk about the Raiders? Let's talk about the Raiders. Oh, you want to go ahead and talk about the 49ers? Bring it. Let's have it. So I think that's an awesome way to get down. And I know that the audience is going to love it because they're going to be able to hear different teams, different, matchups, but they're hearing it from the ATL fresh perspective, which is great.
Right. Now, how does it affect us?
Yes. Now, let me ask you, how long have you guys been sports enthusiasts? Like, who are some of your favorite teams or players?
Oh, goodness. For me, well, my first probably sports hero was actually Magic Johnson and Walter Payton growing up. But my first Atlanta was easily Dominique Wilkins.
Yes.
And then probably Deion Sanders and, Dale Murphy. I used to really like Dale Murphy. I was a huge Braves fan. You have to remember growing up in Atlanta, I live in Chicago now. Growing up in Atlanta, just like Chicago has the WGN station for free. Right. We were poor. And so we would have the VHS, UHF, I'm dating myself. ABC, NBC, whatever.
And it's like, what is that old man talking about?
Exactly. But what we had was, if you lived in Atlanta, metropolitan Atlanta area, they would have the WTBS station. And with that, it would show the Braves. So, man, I was such a huge Braves fan. I remember Bob Horner, Dale Murphy. I remember loving the Mets, hating because of Darryl Strawberry, hating the Mets because of Darryl Strawberry, just loving watching our opponents, just falling in love with the game of baseball. Baseball was actually my first love. And to Jameed's point, that's the concept of the show that we think is a little different outside of the fact that it's a land's perspective. When Jameed and I talk, we would talk about sports, and, I didn't always agree with Jameed, but I always appreciated his perspective. I just liked the way his thought process ran. And so I was like, man, he was just really good at trying to break down, the nuances of why we should win or what we're to be expected in each game. And, man, like I said, I grew up watching Braves baseball. I got to the point where, Micah, there wasn't too much else to watch at that time. So I probably...
It's a lot of baseball games.
Yeah, it was a lot of baseball. This was back in the day where it was nothing but Braves baseball, some wrestling, and Ted Turner's colorized classics. So being really into myself. But long story short, I got to the breakdown like, okay, who's pitching, getting an understanding of how that works, of what's, what kind of defense are we going to be looking at, is a particular player going to be looking at, and why that matters, and that's just kind of how I started to, ascribe with other sports. And as soon as I got into organized sports, it was the same thing. I learned nuances of basketball, the nuances of football, and I fell in love with the same way. And I think what makes me and Jameed work really well is just we work really well bouncing ideas and thought processes off each other.
Okay. All right. And Jameed, do you have like a favorite team or player? And how long have you been a sports enthusiast?
The same. Moved down here to Atlanta as a tyke, and everything, the way the South got something to say and all that stuff was, all of our teams are relatively new, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason why they have a big hold, the Yankees, the Giants, whoever, is because those sports have been around for hundreds of years, mm-hmm. And decades up there. We just got our teams in the 60s. Yeah. So when we moved down here to Atlanta, it was new, so that equaled cheap. And one of my great aunts worked at the Braves games. So, to go out there and look at Afro-Latinos like Rafael Ramirez and those kind of guys like that, you're like, wait, I see, that looks like me. And so, Neat, Dion, all of the same guys, Michael Vick, Julio, Matt Ryan, all of them. I love Acuna and those guys now. But, I lived away from here for about 14 years while I was serving my country. And mm-hmm. sometimes that gives you a different perspective. You kind of like, did I take that for granted? Mm-hmm. And so it kind of renewed. And especially with the coronavirus, the pandemic, it was like, you know what? I kind of took my sports for granted. Right. I kind of took my sports for granted. And Ricardo and I, it's a game on. Let me watch the rest of this on Netflix. But now, when you had that gap, when it was nothing on to watch, you were like, what was I thinking? How did I miss this? Yeah. And so that's what really sparked us to get, back talking. So it's I have a love of Atlanta sports, but I have a love of sports, right? Yeah. Because, when you're traveling around the country and you can't play by yourself. Right. So, that whole, I'm loved only the dogs, or I love whoever. You gotta love sports, and so we love sports, and that's why we could talk sports days and days. Mm-hmm. We worked together about a decade ago now, and we just never lost touch. We bouncing each other, and we don't have that group thing. We could be cool without coming to the same conclusion, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're both petty, and we're gonna keep it in our back pocket to throw on each other, even if it takes 2 or 3 years. Aha! I told you. So,
he's way more petty than I am.
But that really makes for a long-lasting friendship because, here's the honest thing, Michael. How many minutes of action is in an NFL football game? It takes 3 hours to play it, but how many minutes of action?
Right. Good question. 18.
18. Right? The same with baseball.
Mhm.
So the exact same with the 18 minutes. And if with basketball is a lot more action, but the bottom line is we think we like sports.
Right.
We like talking about sports and we like the results from sports. That's really the thing. Because you carved out your whole, what you doing this weekend? What you doing this weekend? Man, we gonna cook some barbecue. We gonna do this. We gonna have people over so we can watch 18 minutes of action. No. You want to talk about it. You want to talk about the game. You want to bet on it. You want to talk. So sports is a whole thing. Ricardo has a saying about how we treat sports in the South. So sports is a social conduit to cross the racial line, cross sex line, cross gender lines, everything. So
Political.
you can really have that person and be together. And so that's what we try to offer you. You don't have to love sports to watch our show. If you just want to watch our show so you can have one thing to ace your boss. If you want to watch our show so you can have one thing to ace your husband, wife, friend, partner, whatever, you will have something in your pocket coming from our show. Because we talk facts. We don't talk about, well, I think, or I don't care what they say. If you don't like what they're saying about our team, we're going to prove why they're wrong. If we can't prove why we're wrong, it won't come on the show.
Exactly. All right. No, that's awesome. And I want to also commend you too, because I heard you mentioned about your serving the country. That's awesome. I come from a military family. That's a big deal. Definitely in the Dobbins household. If somebody serves, we give them their props.
Oh, that's your air base up there? Y'all really in the family.
I know, right? Look, we got the Air Force Reserve Base, everything. But since my dad served both my grandfathers, my brothers, so I definitely hats off to you for that. I mean, I appreciate you for your service for the country. And I love the fact that some of the members of the audience that watch the show are big fans of military. So you guys definitely need to jump on We That Sports ATL. Now that you know also that Jameed also served, come on, y'all. You got to get with the program. That's what's up. And I'm loving the fact that we're able to discuss different things, because as even in the conversation, we bring up certain high points in Atlanta. As you guys were pointing out your favorite athletes and things. Atlanta's really like a very special city. I mean, besides, of course, our civil rights advancements and the things that have done, it's become like a mecca for, the black community and other communities now. And right now they're saying like we've been like the #1 place to do business 7 years in a row. So I just anticipate it getting bigger and bigger and getting better and better. And with all the different sports content that's available, you kind of already answered it, like what people could get different from We That Sports ATL. You guys are giving them facts. They'll be able to learn things they could use to share with, spouses, co-workers. And who doesn't love to get around the water cooler after a great game of football or basketball or watching a sport and talking trash? I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I remember I would just like to rip people up back in the Jordan era, because I was like, yo, I'm a fan of Jordan. And I knew everybody was like, oh, we hope the Bulls lose. So I was like, Jordan, buy the jersey, whatever, just to aggravate people. I might not have even kept up with the man his whole career.
Yeah, that was a hard era for us.
Very hard. Very hard.
Yeah, because him and Dominique Wilkins, they had like a slam dunk off. Like they played, I seen that highlights. I was like, yo, Dominique's the man. Dominique was the man, like for real.
And Dominique represented for us, and we really love Dominique. And he's still around as a part of the Hawks broadcast team. But, you have those steps, right? You have those stages. Like, this young guy is not as good as Dominique. This young guy is not quite as good as Dominique. This young guy has better stats than Dominique. This young guy is winning than Dominique. And so it was hard to. It was actually matured me. It made me into a man, because it was like I had to. And that's really an allegory for what our show is.
Right.
We love Dominique, but having to go through that era to realize I hate Larry Bird. I hate Larry Bird. I hate Larry Bird. I hate Michael Jordan is overrated. I hate Larry Bird. Michael Jordan is overrated. Wait a minute. Larry Bird is really good. Michael Jordan is really good. And so that honesty to be like, you can still love Dominique and admit that Larry Bird is better. You can admit that Michael Jordan is better. And so that really changed how I looked at sports, because maybe other if I was in Chicago, maybe I never get that, right? Because I'm like, if I thought Michael Jordan was the best, the clock is still ticking in 2021 for somebody to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And so just having to go through that with, the upstart teams that weren't winning championships like maybe other cities were, it kind of matures your sports view and makes you take a realistic view. And so that's kind of what we bring in. And if you want to win some bets to get out of some housework or whatever, come watch our show and you can say, hey, if the so-and-so win, we'll take this.
You can call it. All right. No, that's what's up. And just as you were just sharing that, I do know that is a part of maturing in sports. Because I remember, I was so caught up with the Jordan thing. AI came and the whole crossover thing happened. And I was like, I can't stand that AI. He tried to cross Jordan. He's so disrespectful. But then it's crazy because like later on when he went against the Lakers and he was really trying to hold it on his own, I was like, yo, I like dude. Dude got hard. Like he's straight. Like I just connected with AI. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Sports brings people together because I have family members that we have different interests. Like I love martial art films. Some of them cringe at the idea of watching a Jackie Chan flick. But the one thing we can come around to, I know, right? For real. But we can all come around when it's a game. If it's like a Super Bowl or something, yeah, we're right there. And then it's crazy because it's weird how we'll pick opposite teams. Like I remember my in-laws were like Golden State fans. And I was like, how dare you? Like, why are y'all Golden State fans? And we were back and forth. So sports is something that's both fun. And then some people take it so serious. I mean, you almost ready to throw fists. Like, don't talk about my team. Like I met some New Orleans folk and I'm glad you brought them out. They extreme. We ain't hating on the audience watching from New Orleans. We love y'all and appreciate y'all. I want you to support. Yeah, watch the show and subscribe. If you're from New Orleans, leave a comment. Give us a shout out. Let us know how you really feel. But y'all crazy. Y'all take sports to another level. Like you get hurt saying something bad about the Saints around a true New Orleans head. Like, oh boy. Yeah. That's like saying something the Knicks with a Brooklyn's guy. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I hate admitting this, but I learned to have a healthy respect for New Orleans when I after Katrina, because, of course the storyline was kind of soppy to me. It's like, okay, it's overplaying it. Yeah, you blocked the kick and whatever. But what was encouraging to see was like, wow, how much this city needs this, Yeah. The one thing I can say about our great city, Atlanta, is, man, we are the Mecca. And if you leave Atlanta, you will know it. Like, there are things that I miss that I can't even put into words. Like, it's just like, wow, they have entire parts of town with affluent Black people for miles and miles and miles. And they work at a job where they work with other well-to-do Black people for miles and miles and miles. And it's just unusual, But sports is still that same, like, man, especially I think with recent events. I don't remember what happened in 2016. They said that we might have not fared well in the Super Bowl, but I don't know. But I try not to bring it up too much. But seriously, we laugh together, we cry together. I mean, we've had it's not just my Atlanta Falcons; it's my Atlanta Hawks. We've had sports hiccups for years, and I remember. Coming out of high school in 95, this is a little after high school when the Braves finally won. And I don't even think I was near as a baseball fan as I was growing up. But it was just that we finally got that monkey off our back that we had a world championship.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Japan and I didn't even get a chance to really enjoy it, like puff my chest out like Yankees fans and Red Sox fans get to. It was more like, we finally got one.
Yeah, finally got one.
Yeah, that's something that Atlanta to Atlanta we can relate to.
Yeah, this is how bad it used to be. People don't remember this, but before that happened, when Evander Holyfield won the world championship in boxing, they actually had a parade, and they kind of try to describe that as, well, we finally have a championship, but it didn't feel the same. It was called. Evander was already a little bit punch drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Evander Holyfield too.
Shout out to Evander who represented us well.
No, you're right, and it's funny because our city, there's a lot of teams that have come through. I remember we had like the hockey team come through, and then they were out, and we had like the Atlanta Liberty, the WNBA team. We had another WNBA team, and it seems like our city had been short when it comes to the championships and the winning. With the exception of the Braves, and of course now Atlanta United. It's been a while. What do you think Atlanta should do probably, like with like the Falcons and maybe even with the Hawks to win the champion? Hawks on the roll tonight. I mean, they've been doing their thing so far. So, I mean, what do you think, I guess, Atlanta should do possibly different that could help with those teams?
Well, I think, boy, that's a very. All right, let me take a shot first, Jimmy. One thing I appreciate about Chicago. And they haven't won. Well, no, that's not true. When I first got here, they were winning hockey championships, Stanley Cups. It seemed like
the Blackhawks.
Yeah, birthright. It seemed like, my son thinking you're supposed to have hockey parades every year in his first 3 years in life. But anyway, one thing I appreciate, though, it's actually annoying as an outsider, but I appreciate it on one level, is the pressure the fans and the media put on athletes to perform well. One of the hardest things as being an Atlanta fan is sometimes I feel like we have shucks, Southern, we'll get them next year attitude. Now that's starting to change. It's starting to change. But the one thing I can appreciate about in Chicago, I'm telling you, when I moved here, I used to call my father. I said, I don't think I'll ever see Jay Cutler walking outside. I think these people would really assassinate him. They would really do something to him. And I'm halfway joking now. I mean, these people are crazy. And I knew it going in because I remember before I moved here to Chicago, I remember when the Chicago Bulls would come to a Hawks game, or if it was the Bears at the Falcons game, man, they had bus loads of fans. They were just was dedicated. Now, on one part, you have to understand we are a transient city. Most people, like Jameed said, are not originally from Atlanta. Now,
and they've had their teams for decades and decades and decades.
But when you build a consistent winner, I think people are more. One thing about the Bulldogs, their fans are going to show up.
Yeah,
we're going to show up here in Notre Dame. We're going to show up in Tennessee. We're going to show up. We could put us way in the Rose Bowl. There's going to be a whole lot of Georgia Bulldog fans.
That's true.
Our fans really appreciate consistent efforts to win. And I think that in some parts, now I appreciate Arthur Blank, but I think we've had mixed bag in terms of with the Hawks, they're doing good now. But one of the concerns initially was with them and with the Braves, the staff was, hey, is it about winning or is it about getting the dollars? And I think when we got Trae Young and when we got the management that we have now, our general manager, I think we hit on every draft pick, even better than I originally thought. Wow. And that just doesn't happen. I mean, our last 3 drafts, every pick hit. That just doesn't happen. So we have a bunch of young guys playing well. So I feel really good about the Hawks as a franchise. I like the step in the direction that the Falcons have done. There's a couple other changes I personally thought they should make, and I'm a Julio fan. Julio's my favorite Falcon all time outside of Deion Sanders. But I thought it was time for him to go. Just if you're not going to win with Julio this year, then it's best to, get the contract out of the way. And sometimes you have to think like that. NFL's a cutthroat business, the way the salary cap works. So, as far as the Braves, pray for them.
All right, cool. I appreciate that. Now, Jameed, we'll get your insights.
I think it's sometimes you got to tear it all down to build it back up. True. The Hawks tore it all down, and now you see the fruit of their efforts, even faster than people thought it was going to happen, right? And so we have kind of resisted doing that. The Braves actually did do it, right?
Right.
And they had a great season last year. They got a young, vibrant team. But I think there's we got some questions. Do we have the right leadership in place? And as Ricardo said, without having a single owner, do you find yourself in a situation where you're like, are they here for the money or not? Right.
Right.
But what I will say is, if the Braves are on the right path, but don't take for granted that you're going to be young, because you're like, we young and we almost there. And you can quickly become old and past there, right?
Right.
We saw it happen a little bit with the Falcons. We were young, we were this, we were that, we were going to the championship. We should have beat the 49ers in our house. But we were like, no big deal, because we're young and we'll be here.
Right.
Fast forward, now last year we were the oldest team in the NFL. And so we're in that transition with the Falcons. Trying to tear it down, keep it. This is a big season for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yep.
It's almost, again, if they don't get it this year, when are they going to get it as far as the national championship? I'm kind of excited about the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I want to see them go to a bowl. I want them to see them finish with a winning record. People always go like, well, how can you cheer for the Bulldogs and the Jackets? Man, I graduated from the University of Maryland. I don't know what all this fake, I love the Bulldog. And I'm like, hey, man, you went to high school with me. You didn't make it out of the 7th grade. So you can choose for whoever you want to, but I'm not going to let society tell me that I have to hate another team.
Right.
Yeah, with your Everest Institute degree.
Right.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, I love every team in Georgia: Savannah State, Clark AU,
Georgia Southern.
Morehouse,
All
Albany State,
Yep.
West Georgia,
Yep.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern.
Yep.
My son is going to school in Milledgeville, so
All
it's
right.
like all these schools. If it has to do with Georgia, I want them to win.
Right.
When the T-shirt says, my T-shirt now, this is only for ATLians, right? It says, "Me and you, your mama,
and cousins too."
You can't get no more Atlanta than that shirt.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so, I mean, I want us all. I want us all to win. I remember that year Boston won everything, right? Everything and everything.
I remember that. I remember.
So you just want your team to be successful, because the more successful your team is, the more fun you can have in this social experiment or this social excuse that we call sports, that we can bond over, that we can barbecue over, that we can pray over, that we can hug over, that we can bicker over in a fun way.
Right.
So I think if we keep going on the path we're going, we can see some championships. But I promise you, if we don't, we still gonna talk sports, and the sun is gonna come up the next day.
All right. And while you just brought that up, just a thought came to mind when you were talking about the college teams. And I just heard, I believe it was today, that the law had passed where the athletes are now able to get compensation for like their name and their likeness. Do you think that's going to shake things up? Just a quick opinion on that, if either one of you were to fire away, because that intrigued me. We
were talking about this on a whole nother show. Okay. We didn't know it was going to come out. And so go ahead, Ricardo.
Well, you know what? You should probably share, because I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's going to change near as much as people do. Because you're talking about these millions and millions of dollars for a player. You're talking about 10, 15 guys. Will there be players who get paid? Do you think that there are players that are not paid now? I mean, what? There's not going to be too much of a fundamental difference outside of it's just like smoking weed. It's just legal now. It's just legal now. Now, there will be some changes for the top echelon, but you're talking about 15, 20 guys at the top. I mean, now the video likeness, the NCAA football game, that'll definitely put some money in kids' pockets, but it won't be millions of me.
Fair enough.
No, I think it's a great trick by the powers that be to trick us into being panicked about something that is not really going to happen.
Yes.
So we said we come to work and we clock in, and you got us working for free, saying that you give us a place to sleep in the back. We demand to be paid. And the employer said, listen, I'm not going to pay you a dime. I'm going to keep letting you work for free. But if you can go out there and get some money, you can keep it. So this whole fake panic thing is by those people who are resistant to change in this power structure, because letting the kids make money is not going to cost the university anything, which was the whole basis of the argument of why they shouldn't get paid in the first place. Well, they already getting free room and board, and the university's like, oh, this actually works because we don't have to pay them anything. We could just say, so are there going to be some slick deals all over the place? Yeah, no, and I don't have a problem with that. I think that they've opened up a can of worms that could start impacting maybe, all this time we've always been scared about point shaving.
Right.
But is it point shaving if I paid you $100,000 to endorse my product, and I really, really, really would prefer if this next game is closer than not close.
Yeah.
we kind of but again, I want the get paid, young man get paid. Get paid, young woman get paid. I don't have a problem with that part of it, but by shoving that responsibility to the other side of the table, you may be opening up a can of worms just because you don't want to have to pay them. So just got to be careful with that. But I want them to get paid. And like Ricardo, I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact because the schools still aren't paying them.
True.
It's still going to be based on, like, you can make money off of, and when I say money, not the whole thing, off of the jerseys in your number at the school store. Yeah. But again, that's only the real good guys. Nobody is like, let me buy number 97 for, no,
right.
They want the good guys. So that's a little bit, but again, it's still not paying. That's sharing a little bit of that revenue. But the thing is going to be like, hey, coming to you live from the Micah Dobbins Show. Hey, go check Micah Dobbins Show. So you might be able to get some of these guys because it's going to cascade all the way down.
Right. Now that makes sense. Now let me ask you guys this right quick because I know we were going to wrap up soon, but I wanted to ask some questions. With the Hawks and the Bucks series, what are your predictions? Where do you see this going? We know we got a game tonight while we're recording, and by the time this show ends, it would have wrapped possibly. So what are your predictions for that series, and what do you see as far as in Trae Young's future with the contract that he has currently with the Hawks?
I had predicted Hawks in 6.
All right.
Probably when the series started, correct me. I'm going to stick with that position. I'm going to stick with Hawks in 6. And as far as Trae Young, man, I think this is his team. And so I think we're going to continue to build around Trae Young. He's an exciting young player, uber talented. And I think, just like Steph Curry was to the generation just before this one, the kids really like Trae Curry. I remember Kobe Bryant talking about his daughter, Gigi. Her favorite player was Trae Young. And I think the younger kids, they just like to see, you know what it is? It's just like Steph Curry. I like LeBron. Right. And people like LeBron, but he's 6'9" and he's 250. It's just like, come on, he's a Superman.
Right.
Whereas I think a lot of people, especially kids, like to see somebody that they can subscribe to. Hey, I can't be a LeBron James. But if I practice really hard and I wear his shoes, I could possibly be a Trae Young. So I think he's an uber mega star. The whole concept of him is it's going to be on the way up. And I think the general management has done an excellent job building around him. So I think he's got a super bright future, and he'll be in Atlanta Hall for life.
All right.
So I'll say I had the Hawks in 7. With and without the injuries. I think that the injuries are unfortunate for both. So both of our superstars are out, and that has really affected us. We were beating the Bucks without Trae. We would have won that game without Giannis getting injured. But I think that Giannis being injured had a factor in us deciding not to play Trae tonight.
Yeah.
And I think the result is going to end up, I would be surprised if we won. If I was a gambler, man, and I am, I would not gamble on the Hawks winning tonight. So that makes it 3-2 Bucks. And that means we're going to have to win back in Atlanta, and then we're going to have to win back in. Well, the good news is we just did that against the Sixers last.
Yes.
And if Trae is at full strength and Giannis is at full strength, I still take the Hawks. because we just have the more resolve. The resolve we showed in winning that game without Trey was just amazing. So this game is destined to be a letdown. So don't be disappointed out there, Hawks fans, if we lose this game. But as far as Trey in the future, we were not headed the best way, right? Behind the scenes, we were not headed the best way. And our head coach and Trey did not get along. And one of our previous co-hosts had as a theory that, and let me give her credit, she's right. I think our previous head coach wanted Luka. We ended up getting Trey and Cam. Well, guess which players could not get along with him at all? Trey and Cam. So, it was Trey's family. So now everything is good. Not just the winning, by the way. His dad is very active on social media. Shout out to Rayford Young. Great dad, did a great job on not just Trey, but his brothers and sisters as well. Yeah. And you can see he's happier with this organization. And he has that cockiness, like he doesn't want to jump on another super team, right? Yeah. And as you see with Dame Lillard, that only lasts so long, right? So you have to keep proving yourself as an organization to your star because you want him to be proving himself out there on the court. True. I truly believe the Hawks can and will win the NBA championship this year.
All right. That's
what's up. Down. And if they do, that's just another chip in favor of Trey because a lot of times the thing that's Dame is not missing anything but a championship. Mm-hmm. Right. Missing that championship. And now after years and years, I'm not chasing a super team. Now it's like, maybe this super team idea is not that bad. We building around him. I think he's going to be a Hawk for a long time. He's going to get what's the shame is there's some underground hate against Trey because the writers were wrong about Trey. The GMs were wrong about Trey. They said a lot of stuff that Trey is making them eat their lunch. Mm-hmm. It's costing Trey the ability to get the Supermax extension, right? So the Luka is first team All NBA. So it's not a Luka against Trey thing, but that means he automatically can get the Supermax extension. Mm-hmm. And so then Trey is not eligible for the Supermax. So he might not sign it this year and hopefully gamble on himself that he can make All NBA next year and then sign it next year.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Awesome predictions. I'm excited. Definitely. He's been explosive. And I can't wait to see this series end out. I'm looking for Atlanta to be on top. And the championship would be outstanding. I'll be probably at the parade myself, ready to celebrate that. All right.
I have to come down.
You see, you have to come down, huh? All right. Well, guys, I have thoroughly enjoyed tonight's show. I'm excited. I can't wait for everybody to go and subscribe right now to We That Sports ATL. Atlanta, go ahead and get in there, you guys. Stand up and make sure you're supporting. Don't forget to also support and subscribe to the Micah Dobbins Show. Anything you guys want to say before we close out tonight?
Well, thank you for having us on this show. And all of our subscribers, I want you to take a look at Micah because let me tell you, this is a good brother. He is a good brother. And the content is something that's going to enrich your life. So you subscribe to his show and we get some of your subscribers to our show. And then we can be talking about sports and life and what's going on in the world. Because that's how we approach sports. Like what's going on in the world as it impacts sports.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, Micah, we thank you so much for having us on the show. We are learning so much from watching you and doing what you're doing. We're so proud of you. And we hope to emulate some of the things that you've helped us see that we want to do with our show. We thank you so much for our time. We thank you so much for each and every view. And for Jameed and I, we're just both lucky and blessed to have the opportunity to be able to talk about what's near and dear to our hearts, sports.
Mm-hmm. That's all right, man. Well, thank you. I appreciate the both of you guys. And again, all who are watching, make sure you hit like, thumbs up. Make sure you help get this video out. Share it. Tell your friends what the shirt say. Me, you, your mama, your cousin too. You remember Outcast. Tell everybody their mama about We That Sports ATL and the Micah Dobbins Show. Till next time, guys, we are signing off and we are out.
What's up?
All right.